All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Shinsekai Yori, episode 24. Shun has returned, but not exactly, not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A part of him was etched into her heart.
Yep.
There's an aspect of power that is so far beyond the meager limits of death that we're seeing something rather beautiful here. And Saki has kind of started to clue in that maybe the child is not an ogre.
Nope.
It's something even more unnerving of a revelation.
Right. I get the feeling, if I were to, guess, we'll have a conversation with Shun here. We'll figure out exactly what this creature is and isn't, and then maybe have a teasing bit.
Human.
Yeah, exactly. They're just a human.
Yeah.
Maybe have a teasing bit of, how that's going to resolve. Man, epilogue for next episode and all that good stuff.
Just a human raised as a monster rat. Nothing to it. No genetic stuff holding it back.
If they end up defeating this thing just by creating a mirror and showing it its own reflection and being like, you're human, and then it dies of the death of shame.
It just won't be able to attack maybe as well either.
Yeah, that would be
because the retroactive like damage kind of thing feels a little bit
Right.
I feel like it would almost be better that it just won't hurt any more humans anymore,
Sure.
Because it's then the idea of like, oh my God, like...
Right, the conversation with this child and...
Yeah, it has a lot of emotional potential impact.
Exactly.
And then there's the way in which if they're brought into the fold of things, Yakumaru's whole campaign is over, effectively.
Yep, it just falls apart.
Right, but also, then it's the thing of, oh, I'll get to have... Mamoru and Maria's effectively child be someone that I raise. Like I help, kind of help them go through the trauma and stuff. Or it's the whole thing of where, no, it's too late for them and this is a dark show, so we might have to
and that's why Saki
misery.
Is so jaded in the future and all that stuff. Because we have definitely gotten the vibe of that from when she's narrating. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right, penultimate episode. Okay.
It's going to be all decided in the next one, and it's pretty much a foregone conclusion as to what it's going to be. We kind of saw this coming in a lot of ways. It works much better than having some Psycho Buster weaponized anthrax be the solution here, because that's impersonal. It's a part of the old humanity thing. It would show in some ways that humanity hasn't learned much of anything, and okay, it's not going to be used. Right. Cool. And that's because Saki has learned that the ogre is not an ogre. It is a human that obviously, I mean, ogres are humans, but it's just the idea that it's not some irregularity that's causing it to avoid the death of shame.
Nope.
It's literally if you believe that, you're a monster rat.
Then there you go. You should have no problem killing humans,
Right.
Yeah.
Because you are not
They're
human.
not your kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because the death of shame is more about turning power and your the desire or means to kill on another person, and primarily through power as well.
Right.
That's why the ogres are so terrifying, is that it just easily use power on other people in a harmful way, and it's totally fine.
And it's not like you'd have some genetic imprinting knowledge of what exactly is a human being.
Right.
It'd be the people like me.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Right.
All right.
Because that's it.
Yep.
It's a technicality that is one that was foreshadowed relatively well because of how much this is about the perceptions and the projections. That is how power works, and therefore the death of shame is an aspect of that power that's been molded into human beings at a level that would make them be it would make them feel just absolutely violated to hurt another person with their power. And there's a very, very simple, easy solution there. You
have a very physically capable monster rat on your side right now that has been shown throughout the series to be built different from a lot of the other monster rats and stuff. So this shouldn't be too difficult.
And now we don't have any mistrust. I liked that they really kept that tension up as long as possible, because that's in some ways probably the most realistic aspect about this like sequence of episodes is that Inui brings up the idea just because he's like, he's keeping a secret from us. So we should potentially think that he's on Yakomaru's side? No. Think about the emotional angle there at the very least. All of his people were wiped out by this thing. Yeah. That shows how little they view the monster rats as, well, human in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and so the decision to trust Kiromaru makes them able to then realize, oh no, we actually do have a secret weapon here that's better than any anthrax or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so good because I feel like the story has been about how we need to see the monster rats as human. Even if they're not technically human, they probably are, you know, long descendants of humans, really. But it's just the, what does that mean for the future of this world? It would be a whole new world. We would actually have peace. We wouldn't have, you know, them being made into slaves and stuff. And in a lot of ways, yes, Yakomaru is the antagonist, and he has a decent, you know, reason to exist in this world for sure. But yeah, we do need to have him be defeated and ended here. And the not ogre, the child here, the tortured child here, it's unfortunate, but I don't see a way
in which it isn't killed.
Yeah. Because now that I'm thinking about it, they basically have to escort Kiromaru in such a way that he doesn't get killed by the monster rats.
Right, they provide covering fire, basically.
But they have to do that without getting targeted by the child.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that...
It's going to be a very creative...
Since they're limited by line of sight, one of the things that I was kind of hoping that they would do this episode is utilize mirrors for the case of seeing around corners, so that hopefully the ogre can't necessarily see them because it's like far away from the mirror, but you know, or something like that. But then they can do that sort of thing, and maybe that's a way that they could give covering fire for Kiromaru, you know. And then just cause mayhem for the monster rats and stuff. He goes out there, does his you know, Ultimate Ninja Master or whatever, like, you know, debris avoidance and stuff, and then gets to the ogre and kills it.
Right.
But
yeah, that is kind of the point where this episode feels like it's a little bit of a slower one that doesn't feel like as exciting because the narrative tension is based around two things. One, how the combat is going to go, because it is very terrifying anytime the ogre shows up.
Well,
or the child.
Or at least it was before this episode.
Right. But now because of things shifting, and also the Kiromaru stuff being something I never really bought into. Like the idea of him potentially being on Yakomaru's side.
Right. It's like...
Yeah, it was something that made sense for the characters, but it was something that for me as an audience member, I never bought into it really that much. Maybe a tiny little bit.
Yeah, the most that I could see Kiromaru maybe having wanted is I hope that the humans are also wiped out along with Yakomaru. At most.
Maybe.
But even that's a stretch.
Yeah, so a lot of the tension in this episode was deflated, I think, unfortunately. And thus also the tell, not show kind of aspect of the way that the story handled it, because we were primarily just in caves and tunnels listening to Kiromaru explain everything. I would wish that rather than taking such a slow pace, and maybe this is just how it was in the manga or light novel or what have you, but I really wish we would have cut a lot of that to showcase the characters kind of observing things and build a little bit more of that dramatic tension of, you know, avoiding cave-ins, seeing the child for a brief moment, and then, you know, making like all those moments were great, but I just felt like the majority of the episode was something where I'm like, can we get to the point where we know things are going, and it's just
well, and my personal thing with it is that even if you have the episode be slow-paced as far as the events that are happening, if you keep the tension high in those slow-paced moments, that can still be great.
Yeah.
You know, if it's oh God, the ogre's coming around the corner, we don't know if it's an ogre, what do we do? We're thinking, we're seeing we're
trying the mirror thing,
we're trying the mirror thing, it didn't work, it keeps breaking it or something like that. That's a way that then we can be invested in the moment by moment, even if a lot of the stuff also ends up being conversations of, all right, what's the plan? How do we do this? You know, like, I feel like that's something that they absolutely could have done, and yet the biggest beef for me is that they literally they literally said before a lot of the conflict in this episode happens, but if it sees us, we're dead. And then it proceeded to see them multiple times, and they were, guess what, just fine.
Just fine, yeah.
And they didn't try all the things to make it like not see them, right? Like they could have tried to do a mirror thing, use power to throw it around the other side, right? You know, like there were, yeah,
there are a lot of moments as this show has continued toward its conclusion that the characters feel like in order to keep the tension high, their ability to think creatively and using their power has diminished. This is a classic example of when you have soft magic systems and the world's kind of tension is based around them finding creative solutions to using their power, and the characters just don't do that. It would be like watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and this almost like rarely happens in Avatar, but it does a couple times when you have Toph, for instance, about to get Azula in season 2, and rather than grab her with the earth, she slightly moves her to the right and makes her fall. Yeah. And it's like,
what the fuck?
Was that you were the blind bandit?
Yeah, exactly. That waits for the perfect moment and strikes.
And it's the kind of thing where you have like a desync in your mind as to, oh, that makes sense as something to what they do, to that actively makes no sense as to what they would do.
Right.
And I think that this show has done a really good job of keeping the uses of the power and their decisions and stuff like that to being these subtle shown things rather than told things, and therefore it makes Kiromaru more of a character that's fully realized in these moments, and then Saki is there primarily just to think about the alternative ways of being the ogre, which I like.
Yeah.
The child.
Mm-hmm. But like the mirror thing's great.
Right, exactly.
They didn't
that's
need to be waiting on the other side of the mirror. They could have been like ducking around a corner because, oh shit, if it breaks the mirror, then, oh hey, we'll be in full view of it. But, yeah. Like when you contrast this episode with the hospital episode, or was it a hospital? The place where they originally ran into the ogre. Yeah. Holy shit, that was so terrifying, right? And they were able to keep the rules of, if it sees you, you die, and all of this stuff, and still have it be really tense, even though they didn't necessarily know what they were doing, right?
Right.
And so it's like, why couldn't we have gotten that again here?
Yeah.
Because
the ogre feels nerfed, our main characters feel nerfed. I don't have a fifth of the tension in this episode, and then it was also very slow paced. So
right, and I think that's the thing that the ogre had so knocked out of the park as far as its presence in the show. Anytime it showed up, it's like, holy shit, this is terrifying.
Right,
and so it sucks to have that get taken away or diminished.
Yeah, but also another thing that's on a meta level, something that's a little bit upsetting, is that I'm really excited for the epilogue for this story. But the more and more time we spend sitting in tunnels,
the less time we'll have for the epilogue.
The less time we'll have for the epilogue.
Yep.
Unfortunate again, but I feel like I am liking this show overall, but the ending is leaving much to be desired as we go closer and closer to it. So it's unfortunate. I totally see the ways in which I could have a lot of tension in this setup here.
The hair trick was awesome.
I mean, that was
great.
That was a really cool bit there. And then again, the ogre, the kid, sees them, doesn't immediately. They have that moment of like, it's right there behind us, and then nope, it's not using its power. It's not doing anything there.
Right, and then like the fact that it had the torch the first time, when they're able to get by in the tunnels just fine without a torch, and then it's just to see it coming, but then the other times I don't believe it used the torch. I can't remember.
Because it didn't have it at that point. It wasn't, because it never had a torch. That was the monster rat pretending to.
Oh, right. And then that would be why the torch would be important, because it's specifically, we want you to see this and think that it's the ogre.
Right. And that also gives an explanation that the child didn't see them at that point when it turned right there, because that wasn't the child.
Right.
That was a monster rat with hair pretending to be.
And if it was something where, like, after seeing itself in the mirror, when it sees them after, like, it goes from seeing itself, it's human, it breaks the mirror, oh, there are other things that look just like me.
I'm not going to be quickly trying to kill them. Yeah.
That could have been a cool thing to show it hesitate a little bit.
Well, I think that's why it screamed. That was its hesitation.
Sure.
So there's probably a couple things of this where we're going to get some explanation when the the child gets defeated here, and that will be that context there. So I think that handles a couple of my criticisms, but again, it's the thing as to where I still feel like the tension side of things combined with the slow pacing makes it where I am kind of pretty much, I feel like, able to predict exactly where the ending is going to go, and I would have rather had this episode than a lot of the stuff that we got, I guess.
Hell, now that I think about it, actually, since Kiromaru is a monster rat, they know that they're humans, theoretically, even though it wouldn't, I don't think it would kill, Kiromaru in any way. If the ogre is in a hard to reach position, just yeet Kiromaru at it.
Well, yeah.
Like, there you go.
That's what we were talking about, or what I was mentioning earlier, is that what they'll do is they'll support Kiromaru from range. Support means make him move. Yeah. Put a bubble shield around him. Right. All these things are just things they can do. Oh, but as long as they see him, it's okay to be able to cast that kind of stuff. That
was the other bit that was frustrating about this. The idea of them getting to a rock and a hard place type situation, okay, cool. Yes. And the ogre's coming behind him, awesome. But I did not believe for a second that was a rock and a hard place situation. The way the monster rats have been fighting them so far is through trickery and surprise and sneak attacks
and guns.
And guns, but we've demonstrated that if the people know where the monster rats are,
which they didn't necessarily,
which they didn't in specifics, right?
Yeah, of course, but that's important. So the idea that we had was just, why don't they just walk out of their run with a bubble? Yeah, I interpreted that as they don't want to be able to be seen by the monster rats, because then the monster rats will never lose sight of them. They'll always know where they are, and their main advantage they have right now is that the monster rats could just not be able to find them.
Right, but
and then the idea that they could cave in most of the area there, so the monster rats are very far in tons of different places and stuff. So Yakumaru is so confident that he's now talking in such a way that it's echoing through the area and stuff like that. And they don't know where he is. Yeah, but I want a conversation, or at the very least a confrontation of sorts with Yakumaru post-conflict, where it's not just we immediately execute him. It's
right. Once we defeat him, we can easily have him still be alive so that they can talk to him before they deal with him.
Because they're going to need Yakumaru to be either defeated and then, put an end to this conflict with the monster rats, or have Yakumaru be convinced that it's not about then waiting until you're strong enough to win again. We're going to fix this. We're going to make things better.
And if nothing else, where the fuck are the other children? You know, like,
yeah. But all right, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. So you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.